start off with an introduction, so I'm going to make it real brief here. But my name is Terri Luong. I'm a producer here at Marsh. I'm also the president of the Asian Business League. So when we were talking about putting this event together, ACRG was very much interested in partnering up with an Asian organization active here in the Los Angeles community. But with that being said, as part of being part of ABL, I've had the pleasure of meeting our moderator for this next portion of our event, Nancy Yoon. Nancy, I'm going to pick up my program here because she's got quite the bio. Not that I didn't do my homework, well maybe. So Nancy is, first of all, I want to say this. When I met Nancy, I was just like, wow, she is on fire. She's got this wonderful personality, very bubbly, very energetic. And then recently, she started doing something really neat with her company called Asians in LA. And essentially, it's a social media networking marketing group. And what she does is she goes out there and she meets with all sorts of folks in our community that are making an impact. And I'll just say this because who watched Crazy Rich Asians? Who likes Crazy Rich Asians? So two things I'm going to say about that. I'm going to pass this on over to Nancy here. Recently had the pleasure of sitting in with an exclusive private interview with Kevin Kwan. Is that correct? Kevin Kwan, who's the author of the book. Who read the book? I did too. Nancy's an actor, a host, a marketing nonprofit executive of over 20 years of experience. But here's where I want to highlight because it kind of stood out to me. She's had some roles in the shows Las Vegas, Days of Our Lives, let's see here, commercials. I mean, she's kind of done it all. So I am excited to introduce to you and have her come join us right now, Nancy Yoon.
Welcome, everyone, and welcome Martin South and all of you that have traveled from all over the world. Welcome to sunny LA. A couple inches of rain to us means that it's storm watch here in Los Angeles. So on behalf of Marsh and ABL, I would like to welcome our remarkable group of panelists here. And we are in for an exciting 45-minute panel discussion about diversity and resilience. And we hope that you get some insight today. So we've got 4 very different perspectives, both professionally and personally. And to highlight the uniqueness of each of these incredible panelists, we have some personalized questions for each one of them. So I know that the audience has the program right now, and you could do some in-depth research of them, but we wanted to do a quick 60-second introduction of our panelists. So we'll start with you, Stephen.
Okay.
Where's your mic?
I don't have a mic.
Oh, Sam.
There is a mic.
Great.
Sorry, I like to time myself because
Stephen loves to talk. He's an eloquent speaker, so we've got a timer on
There's
for
a
him.
timer on there right now.
No, he's got great words.
Again, my name is Stephen Cheung. I'm the president of the World Trade Center Los Angeles. And what we are is we're a nonprofit organization here in LA County, represented the 88 great cities of Los Angeles and over 100 unincorporated areas that make up this region. Our job is to help international companies figure out how to do business here in Los Angeles. And the line that I always use is this: international company coming in from Korea or from Zimbabwe, they don't know the difference between Hollywood, North Hollywood, West Hollywood, East Hollywood? Is there a South Hollywood? Right. Which one's the city? Which one's the neighborhood? How do you get your permits? So for these companies, they don't have a lot of resources, and that's what we try to do. We try to help them. And the ultimate goal for us is if they're successful here, they're going to create more jobs. And that's an economic development agency, and we're actually part of the LA County Economic Development Corporation. Our job is to basically provide these services, help them integrate into this region, and most importantly, connect them with the local companies here and resources so that they can easily integrate into this society, into this region, so they can create good jobs for this region. And my alarm is up. So
He has a buzzer on his iPhone. All right, Kiesha Nix.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kiesha Nix, and I am the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Lakers Youth Foundation. That is the official team charity of the Lakers. and I have to leave here at 6:30 because we are playing the Indiana Pacers tonight.
Oh.
Go Lakers!
Go Lakers!
So it is the official charity of the Lakers. I run all of our charitable efforts. I work with the Bus family. I work with our team. And what we do is we go out and we serve youth in the underserved communities in Los Angeles in the areas of sports, health and fitness, and education. Prior to this, I was in finance for 21 years at Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. And when Nancy, Crazy Rich Asian Nancy,
Not yet.
asked me to be a part of this panel, I said, do they know I'm not Asian?
It's called diversity, Kiesha.
And she explained what it was, and I really wanted to be here because I was responsible for bringing the first Black professional network to Merrill Lynch in Southern California in 2007. And I truly believe that I would not be where I am in my career if I had not been a part of affinity groups and employee resources groups. So that's why I'm here.
Victoria Person.
Hi, I'm Victoria Person. Also not Asian.
We're very diverse.
Broke that ice. I was a journalism major, and if you've looked in the program, you see that I was a succinct journalism major. My bio is so much shorter than everyone else's. I left you white space, though, to take notes. So I'm planning on saying lots of great things for you to write down. But I am the diversity inclusion manager 2 doors down at SoCalGas, Southern California Gas Company, and I've been in this role for about 7 years. I've worked for the Semper family of companies for about 17 years and stumbled into this job, and I love it. This is the best job I've had just because my mind got opened to diversity inclusion when I was very narrowly focused on my career and my own perspective, and then got involved in my company's diversity and inclusion efforts, and it was very eye-opening, and I was like, I have to be a part of this, and now I am, and I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cris Liban. I'm the Executive Officer for Environment Sustainability at LA Metro. Who took the bus here today? A few of you. Thank you so much. We need more of you. So Terri told me about this program tonight, and I said, I thought it was going to be a climate resiliency, climate change type of program. And I said, no, it's not technical. It's all about personal resiliency. So I kind of thought about that a little bit more, and I'm proud to claim that both of my parents are Filipino, 100% Asian, and I think I can talk about Filipinos all night, but I'll let.
And you won an award, right, from the president of Philippines?
Yeah, so
It's in the bio.
Thank you for bringing it up. I got surprised by the Philippine government, and I got one of the highest honors of the country. The Philippine president essentially said, thank you so much for your contributions, but I look better than you are.
Thank you so much for being here. We've got an incredible panel, so we're very grateful. Stephen, let's get started.
Okay.
So Stephen, president of World Trade Center Los Angeles.
Yes.
Worked in international trade, Port of Los Angeles, worked for 2 mayors of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is known as one of the most diverse regions in the history of humankind. Wow. It's truly the definition of diversity. So when you think of this amazing region and the people in it, what does diversity and resilience mean to you, Stephen?
Sure.
Oh my God, it's time.
3 minutes. One, slight correction, it's actually not one of the, but it's the most diverse region in the entire history of the humankind. This was actually said by Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, and when he said it first, I fact-checked it. I used to work for him, so I like to fact-check things that he said. And to my surprise, it's true. I don't know why I questioned it, because when you think about the most diverse location in the history of humankind, you think of Istanbul, you think of Venice. But in that period in history, their reach is actually limited. Right here in Los Angeles right now, did you know we speak over 224 different languages? Many of them were represented by this room right here. On top of that, we have over 140 nationalities represented right here. That diversity and that international connection here is what's making Los Angeles great. And that's what resiliency means to me as a representative of this region. Part of my job is to go sell LA to the rest of the world, right? I have to attract them to come to Los Angeles. And many of them will say, Los Angeles is so expensive. All you have are basically Hollywood and traffic. What else do you get? We got rain too, right? But a little bit. Right? We got some, but this is to the point. The reason why we have such innovation, and this comes into food innovation, gastronomy as well, is think about it. Who started the food truck revolution? Someone who put Korean barbecue and a taco, put it on a truck, a food truck that people know as a Roachmobile, and Twitter. Combined together, you have Kogi truck that started an entire revolution. That's what happens when you have diversity. That's resiliency. Because as the economy is changing around the world on a day-to-day basis, a lot of times what we see is that there's challenges when you're just so focused on one sector. Here in Los Angeles, what I do going around the world telling them is that we're more than just Hollywood. Hollywood is a great industry, but that's only the third largest industry in the Los Angeles region. We have so many different other industries. Did you know that we're, for example, the #1 manufacturing center in the United States with over 350,000 manufacturing jobs? Did you know we have more bioscience jobs in San Diego or Boston with over 80,000 bioscience jobs? Aerospace, we're one of the top aerospace industries in the world. We have more tech jobs in Silicon Valley. So when it comes to LA, we can withstand some, sometimes there are fluctuation in 2008 as we saw it. It wasn't a great time for us, but we're able to recover relatively quickly because of that diversity and because of that resiliency. And one of the reasons is because of our connection with the world and how we're able to take advantage of this diversity and own it. Rather than seeing it as a detriment, we see it as really a strength of ours. On a personal basis, I was born in Hong Kong, immigrated here when I was 8. As an Asian immigrant, it's difficult. Even though we're in LA, sometimes you just don't feel like you're really well connected. And so taking on this position as a president of the World Trade Center, going around the world selling LA, a lot of people look at you, it's like, I thought you're going to be blonde. Right? And when you don't fit that category, sometimes you get treated differently. And it made me doubt whether I should really represent Los Angeles. But over time, I go around the world and I'm very proud to represent Los Angeles because I do think that I represent a very good LA story. As an immigrant, as an Asian American, as someone who was raised in a single parent family, as someone who came up in an environment of poverty, as an LGBT member of this community, I'm really the minority of a minority of a minority of a minority. And yet to be able to be selected by the 2 mayors of Los Angeles to represent them on the international stage, that shows how we embrace diversity and celebrate it. And with that strength, we can go around the world to basically let them know, come to Los Angeles. We welcome you, and we welcome your ideas, and that's what's going to make us great. My alarm's up.
I think this one's me. I don't think I'm going to move out of here. So Kiesha, as executive director of Lakers Youth Foundation, of a basketball team that no one's ever heard of, Lakers, and working and impacting over 100,000 youth. You have this amazing, she's got a really cool job, role of working with underserved youth in our community by helping them develop to their full potential through positive experiences. So as part of that development, share with us how we can transform resiliency in kids into something inspiring that will influence them to strive for leadership roles in the future.
Well, you're right. I do have a really cool job.
She does. I'm so jealous.
I'm like Robin Hood. I get to run around the city and give money and opportunities. And it's really amazing. What I like to do with our youth is I like to be transparent. And I like for them to understand that I was actually one of those youth. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I was a single mom. I am clearly Black, not Asian, and female. And so I try to meet them where they are. I meet them on their level and explain to them that they too could be me. As a matter of fact, many more of them could be me than could be the next LeBron or the next Kobe. And so when I start to break down the barrier, the walls that exist there, and they understand that they don't necessarily have to go to Yale or Harvard, but they can. There's an opportunity out there for them if they work hard. And is it hard? Yes, it is. 21 years that I spent at Merrill Lynch in finance, no one there really looked like me. And it was a challenge. And I had to have grit and determination and perseverance. And what my motivating factor was is that I was a single mom. I started there 24 years ago, pregnant with my son. Do you know what that looked like? It did not look very good. But here we are 24 years later, and my son started there a month ago as a financial advisor. So when I'm able to give that kind of motivation to the youth, no matter what color they look like, where they come from, single parent family, double parent family, just to let them know that this world is not easy. There are a lot of people out there that are not going to accept you, but you have to keep going. There has to be something in you, in your life, whether you're working for your parents, you're working for your own children, whatever it is, the same as with our players. Many of the star players, the star athletes, they grew up in some really impoverished, circumstances, and now they're giving back. I mean, again, LeBron, Kobe, Magic Johnson, you look at them, and they really did not have the resources, and so they make those resources available to our youth. So I just try to be very honest and open with them and let them know that they really can do anything. They can go to MIT. They can go, wherever they want, and they can be whatever they want, but they do have to work hard.
That's very inspiring. And you had Denzel Washington come the other?
Denzel was there yesterday.
We got to do a little name dropping here. We are in Hollywood.
Because we still have to motivate our players.
That's right.
So we have a Genius series, and we have speakers come in and motivate the players. And yesterday it was Denzel's turn.
He's a genius in Hollywood. And movies. Thank you. Victoria, as SoCalGas Diversity and Inclusion Manager, how do you balance resiliency with conforming?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So SoCalGas has about 8,000 employees. We have about 22,000 square miles of service territory and 22 million customers. I know. And my D&I department has 3 people.
Wow.
And until very recently, it was 1 or 2 people, and I was both of those. It was a crazy series of events. People left, had to fill in for other people, and it is often seen as not a business imperative. Despite, I love your words today, Martin, and you get it, as we say. But when companies are looking at their bottom line and they're trying to meet budgets, they're looking at the things that don't necessarily make money or serve their bottom line. So for me, resiliency has had to be some of the deciding how much to go, hey, this isn't fair, and okay, this is just how it is. We pull up our bootstraps and we dig in. The company needs this from us right now. It struck me personally, this question, when I did a 360 review. Has anyone done a 360? You know what I'm talking about? Of course you do. Is anyone still suffering from theirs? It's rough, right? Anyone who doesn't know, you're lucky, but you get other people to tell you about yourself, and they do it anonymously.
God, that sounds painful.
Yeah.
And I got my report back, and it was when I became a new manager, and I had given the names. I had given the names of people to interview. I was like, well, ask these 10 people. And I knew to pick a broad range of people that I had worked with, not just my fans, of which I have many. But I really wanted honest feedback, because that's what gets you to where you need to be. And so I got the feedback, and I cried for 2 days. Because people were honest. And I learned how other people see me sometimes. And when I think I'm being, driving an idea or fighting the good fight. They saw me as railroading or as tunnel vision or too harsh. I was like, me? I'm so nice. And so the resiliency had to come with, well, which do I do here? Do I go, hey, we're supposed to be about diversity. This is me being in my diverse self. You need to accept me for who I am. Or do I conform to the gas company, which is family? People stay there 30 years. Their kids work there. Their partners, their ex-partners work there. Do I become the nice person because you're going to stay there forever and this is your long-term family? Guess what I did? I conformed. Because what it came to me is that empathy is a leadership skill. Taking into consideration how people see me and recognizing that and responding to that and then maybe modulating is a good skill to have that I've seen people above me be able to do. I'm thinking about that more in my interactions with people.
That's right.
Ask me back in a few years.
So Stephen, in light of the political climate
Yes.
across the nation that's affecting all of us right now, do you think diversity is a core asset to businesses outside of coastal regions of the U.S.? And how do you utilize diversity to attract investments and expansions from international businesses?
So I think what we're hearing from a lot of our international partners is they're concerned when, for example, travel ban first came out, whether they're going to be allowed in the country. So going a couple years back, remember there are potential bans against certain countries that are in the Muslim countries, right? But I think most people are thinking about the Middle East. I got a call from Indonesia saying, hey, we're about to do a conference with about 500 people at JW Marriott, and we just booked the hotel. Can we do this? Are we going to be allowed in? I was like, yeah, you're Asian. It's like, Stephen, Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world. That's my ignorance, right? My mother is from Indonesia, and I don't even know the details behind it. So when it comes to the impact of basically policies that we have, there are so many different effects that we don't know about and the implication of how they perceive the world. And so I think in Los Angeles, we've been doing a very good job pushing for this agenda to let them know that maybe there's some difference in opinion around the nation, but in Los Angeles, we're able to become the economy that we are because we embrace this diversity and we welcome it, and we've demonstrated it. For example, LA Tourism Convention Board did a video basically welcoming everybody. Basically, if you haven't seen it before, you should go to look at their website. And because of that, and I think because of that huge campaign, what we saw around the nation last year, tourism numbers fell all over the United States except for one region, LA. LA's number went up. We have a target of hitting 50 million passengers and visitors to LA by 2020, and currently we're at over 49 million. So we're going to hit that number. And the reason why we're so excited about this, before you clap on the next one. These tourists and these visitors, when they come here, they spent about $29 billion in the local economy. Yeah. $29 billion. Clap to that, right? Please, come spend more money. So, in terms of, for us, it's been beneficial, but the thing is we don't want our neighbors and our partners and our friends around the nation to suffer as well. And they're seeing the effect. So it does have a direct impact on them. So is it important? Yes, absolutely it's important. But unfortunately, sometimes, even though maybe it's a certain region, have a kind of a public perception that they're not welcoming and people don't want to go there. But in fact, you can't basically generalize the entire state or entire city. That's the way. This is the thing. In terms of discrimination and acceptance of diversity, just because we have it doesn't mean we're going to embrace it. And so it's very important for not just this region, but around the nation to really acknowledge that diversity sometimes is not welcomed by all. And I think for us, we're able to show that because of our diversity, we're able to boast that LA County, just last year, is now the #1 county economy in the entire nation, $707 billion. So if we were a country, we would be the 19th largest economy in the world. And if you think about the greater Los Angeles region, which is the 5 counties of LA, we would be about $1.2, $1.3 trillion in GDP. We would be tied with Mexico as the 15th largest economy in the world because of that diversity, I personally think. So I hope that that's an example for the rest of the world, that this is actually not a detriment. This is actually an asset that they need to take advantage of. So is it important? It should be.
Yes, good point. So good. Kiesha, I read that diversity is an action, inclusivity is cultural, and belonging is a feeling. So change doesn't necessarily start from the top-down leadership. It starts at every level. So we can all be leaders, and we can help by making people feel like they belong, right? So as leaders and as colleagues, how can we make people feel like they belong? Because it's everyone's responsibility.
Well, I think that you guys are already doing that in this room. When I look around the room, when I walked in and saw the diversity in the room, I said, wow, they really get it. When I think back to the employee resource group that I started in 2007, before I left Merrill Lynch in 2015, I was a member of every employee resource group. Everyone, because I wanted to learn from them, I wanted to support them, I wanted to embrace the different cultures and understand the things that I didn't know. And so I think that that is very, very important. We need to support one another. We need to go and learn things so that we can have the information. Sometimes it is just ignorance on our part. We don't know that Indonesia, I didn't know that until you just said, is a Muslim country. We have to step outside of our box. I heard a venture capitalist say one day that it's easy to network in your comfort zone. Try networking outside of your comfort zone. This woman went to an event where no one spoke English but her, and she networked. And I took that as a personal challenge. I now, for the last 5 years, have sat on the board of a Korean healthcare organization.
That's right.
Right here in Koreatown. CARE. I am clearly not Korean. I know very, very little about healthcare except for when I go to the doctor. But what I do know is that CARE provides quality health care for everyone, irregardless of race and whether or not you have the ability to pay. And so that resonated with me, that I wanted to get that message out there. So when people look at my bio or ask me, they're like, why are you on this board? Why am I not on that board? Why are you not on boards or supporting things that don't necessarily look like your exterior, but you can really make a difference? Sometimes something so little as saying happy birthday to someone on social media. I realize people really want you to care. They want you to care about them. They want to feel like in your busy life, in your busy schedule, that you take a couple seconds to just acknowledge them. And so I preach that message to our youth out in the community. You have to accept one another, and you have to help one another. We can't always be so insecure about, helping someone else, and that's going to take us out. No, I'm training the millennials to take over. I want them to take my job so that maybe I can retire one day. We can't be afraid, of change. We can't be afraid of, something that's different. We need to embrace each other and really learn from the differences out there. I am all about diversity and inclusion. And like I said, when I was at Merrill Lynch, I joined all those networks. I have to be honest, working for the Lakers, I am very fortunate. I am in a male-dominated field, but we are run by a female. And thank God for Jeannie Buss, because she gets it. And because she gets it, the Lakers get it. And we are one of the few teams in the NBA that have been on the cutting edge for years. We have so much diversity there. We have so many women in leadership, executive roles. So when I get asked the question, I almost have to go back to the 21 years, because the time that I'm living in right now, I'm not having the same challenges. And that means that we've grown. So I'm excited about that.
Great. Cris, you have the unique position of serving in multiple government commissions, city, state, federal, gosh, a lot. With the uncertainty and constant changing business environment due to technology and globalization, how does diversity help foster resilience and adaptability in company culture?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, you know, because I get exposed to, I've been exposed to a lot of different organizations across the country through these multiple opportunities that have been afforded to me. I'm hoping that's not because I'm Asian, but because of my ability and the opportunities that I have power of can actually facilitate folks to experience the things that they would experience. And they would not do that if not for the opportunity that, you know, I try to create for those kinds of situations. And, you know, I'll just tell you one quick story on this, and maybe it will answer the question really well. You know, I've always prepared myself to become a presidential management intern in the White House. And I've prepared myself all my life to be like that. And I had one opportunity to do that. And it was the only thing that was hindering me from doing so was a signature from one of the people that needed to sign a form and FedEx it at 5:30 that afternoon. And that individual did not sign it. I've never cried as hard as I can in my life. And I think back to that opportunity and said, I'm not going to be that individual. And wherever I can, I'll make sure that things will happen. A few years later, and I was telling the story to my wife last night. You know, I volunteer for the LAUSD as principal for the day. And I was telling my wife and my niece about this last night. And the question was, you know, what could be one of the turning points, you know, or a good story that I can kind of relate to my niece who's turning 30, and she's like, you know, I haven't done anything. You know, and I said, you know, one time I was riding the bus with my son JP, you know, and he said, and we're sitting, and the kid said, you know, this kid was sitting here, my son was sitting there, we were separated when we rode the bus. And the kid said, are you Dr. Liban? And I said, yeah, I'm Dr. Liban. What's going on, you know? And he said, you may not remember me, but you spoke at my class in 5th grade. And you inspired me to become an engineer. I'm in 11th grade now, and I want to become an engineer like you. And I told him that, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because, and if you forget anything tonight, you'll never know who you will inspire with the smallest things. And that kid, wherever he is right now, I'm very proud of him, because the first kid, a Latino kid, inspired an Asian guy who was only their principal for the day for 2 hours, and he's going to make a difference in the world, because I didn't even know what kind of influence I would have for him. He didn't even know what he wanted to do, but there's something that I said that 2 hours that inspired him to do what he needs to do to change his environment, his family, and his community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cris, for sharing that. I think you inspired a lot of us today, and I saw a lot of not dry eyes in the house. So. Stephen, you are one of the most positive, engaging, happy people that I've met, a lot of energy and passion. How would you define resilience for yourself? And what are some key factors to developing resilience in your career?
I'm going to start this again.
Yeah.
One, I want to thank Cris for his vulnerability and opening it up, because it takes courage to share personal stories, especially in public forums.
Yes.
And with that, I'm going to turn it to a bit personal as well. I think resiliency is, on the personal level, is it's a tough topic for everybody. So there's no guide or anything like that. So I think sometimes you need to be open to various experiences, and sometimes it's not about just making that change right away, but sitting with the emotion. Before talking about diversity, even though I'm doing international trade right now, whenever I go internationally, they're like, "Oh, where'd you get your MBA from?" I'm like, "I got my MSW at UCLA." Like, "What's an MSW?" "I'm a social worker." What is that? So, and when I was going through doing social work, I started my career actually working at the domestic violence shelter for children and women who were escaping situations of domestic violence, and I learned quite a lot in the direct services. Learning from them and seeing the resilience of having your entire life turned around, and yet still having to put on a brave face for yourself, for your children, that's the resilience that I always aspire to. And I think as I'm going through this career path, and I think in our society we're always looking up. Who's the next Elon Musk? Who's the next, Bill Gates? For me, I think I always look at the folks like, who are the folks who are surviving these horrific situations and yet look at more than just themselves or their wealth? And being able to do that, that's resilience. And so, to Chris's, kind of point about inspiration, growing up, I didn't have that. I think part of it is because who are my Asian American role models?
That's right.
And there were very few. And growing up already as an immigrant, felt out of place. My English wasn't great. I was a shy, typical Asian kid in the back of the room. And then, and when I was going through the program, they said the MSW program, one of the things they tell you to do is to sit with your emotion. What the hell does that mean?
Right, we're Asian.
No.
What does that mean?
I don't sit with emotion. But it's because after some time I've learned that when you don't always just have to act right on the emotion. You have to make a change right away. Sometimes you can work out different issues. So I'll go all the way back now, and I understand a bit more. Not having that role model was very tough, because you look and it's like, I want to be that blonde guy who can speak with a surfer's accent. That's so cool. Gnarly, right? Gnarly. But, that was never me, because I tried to hang out and try to fit in with a jock group, and I never did. And they just looked at me like some sort of creep, which I probably was. Hey guys, what's going on? And on top of it, this is another thing when I was going through the program, is about the intersectionality. Intersectionality basically is when one issue affects your life, it's tough. When another issue hits your life, you lose your job, then maybe you're going through a divorce situation, and then your car gets towed. Just everything adds up. And for me, that intersectionality was when I was about 13. Growing up, not having that role model, my father left the family and chose another family because we're astronaut kids. So my dad was going back and forth between Hong Kong and slowly just becoming less and less and less and less. And my mom decided to surprise him in Hong Kong, and she was surprised because there was another family, another kid, and confronted him, and he decided to choose other families. So all of a sudden we came from a pretty wealthy family, and all of a sudden just basically became zero income, because this one Asian American woman, zero English, 3 kids in the United States with a mortgage. So that was tough for her, but for us, we just want to support her. And then, to go through that cycle, to go through poverty, and then 13, hormones start hitting.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with the fact that I realized that I wasn't the same as everybody else. and I didn't desire the things that other kids desire. So everyone's like, hey, you should go out with Amy because she has the hots for you. I'm like, oh yeah. But it wasn't Amy. But it became too much for a little kid's mind to come together. So this is the part where without that role model, without that, I didn't have the resiliency. I didn't know. And so I considered the only option that was out, which is just commit suicide to make it easier for my family. So this is the part where it becomes so important to have that next generation of leaders who can show you the way, that there's a better way out.
Yeah.
And with that, I think these forums, I think we sometimes just basically get to the superficial side. So I want to thank Cris for opening yourself up, because to be able to share this personal experience, it helps other people understand that it's so much more. So resilience for me and for Cris, I think for everybody else, is about not just for yourself, but the next generation. So.
I don't even know what to say. I'm just so touched. I'm just so grateful. We go to a lot of these kind of moderations and panels, but it's just kind of rare when we have people that are so open and vulnerable and able to share their experiences. So thank you so much for all your experiences and your wisdom, and I hope that you guys were able to take something back with you. I know that there are some tears in the house and hopefully some inspiration. Thank you so much. I wanted to tell you guys that. I wanted to leave you all with the same question that we can take away. It's kind of, we're taking it back to a more positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry for not being
No,
bubbly.
no,
I'll bring it back.
No,
Acting.
it was so. With what Stephen said, I think there's a lot of things happening in Hollywood, and diversity and representation, and Crazy Rich Asians, and Searching movie. We did that in Asians in LA as well. It's so nice to be able to kind of see things happening in Hollywood, because that's what we identify ourselves with.
Right.
People in television in Hollywood, and things are happening right now. So we are all part of this, and it's just really exciting to see where we're going to go with this. So thank God, it's finally our time, us too. Round of applause for this incredible group of people.
Thanks for watching Asians in LA. If you like this video, please like or share and tell others to join us at Asians in LA.